If you have been wanting to learn Logic Pro and you've been wanting to learn it in such a way where you can grasp every detail, you have full control over the DAW. If you have ever wanted to, if you truly wrap your head and your hands around this program, now is your chance, my good friends, because we are going to learn it top to bottom. My name is Eddie Gray. I'm an Apple certified T3 Logic trainer. It's the highest accreditation that you could get in the world of Logic Pro, and I am here to truly serve and truly help what I like to call the modern creative. What is the modern creative? It's basically the new kind of artist, producer, beat maker, composer that we see today. Not necessarily bound to the traditions of the past and not necessarily confined to the technological advances of the future. We find ourselves in this modern era of production. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm super happy to be here and we're ready to go. Okay, we are back at it. Guess what? We are on chapter 8. If that is hard to believe, which just feels like we started yesterday, right? So you can see here we're on page 309. My name is Eddie Gray. This is Resources for the Modern Creative, brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. So happy to be able to spend this time together, and if we're gonna spend it in isolation, if you're going to have extra time on your hands, you might as well get something out of it. I want you to come out of this whole period being better, right? Being more knowledgeable, being more valuable. It's really the only way to make sense of any of this. So I ask you to come with me on this journey to better ourselves, to evolve, to grow, be students first. And then ultimately, when it's your turn, when it's your time for you to serve and give back, whether it's to other artists, producing for local artists, international artists, for music licensing, for publishers, whatever the case may be, all you have to do is learn the program, learn it with all your might, give it all you got, and then I guarantee you the return is on the other side. So we're going to get right into it. We are covering arranging, but we're on the tail end of chapter 7. So we're just going to quickly cover this and then we'll take it home to chapter 8. Let's go. All right. So we have been looking at the user guidance tutorial at length. We have been covering exporting some files here. So it says here in the manual, the project audio browser provides an overview of regions that are derived from individual audio files. You can export this region information into the audio file, which you can choose then to import if using the audio file in another project. If using an audio file with the saved region information in another project, you have the option of importing the region information into the project. So I think this has to do with files being referenced from project to project. So it looks like we go into export region information from project audio browser, and then the current information for the audio file in the project audio browser is saved in the audio file. So in other words, let's go to Logic. What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday today, right? You know how it is sometimes when you are a creative, you're just not paying attention to, you're not looking at the scoreboard, you're just loving life and you're just doing what you have to do. So if we hit key command F, we can see all the various regions that are currently being used. If I hit Shift U, you can see the regions that are not being used in the tracks area. Conversely, if I hit Select Used, here are all the regions that are actually being referenced inside of the tracks area. So what they're saying here is you go to Audio File, and then you go to Export Region Information. Now, this kind of happened to us last time. It didn't, hold on, let me just make sure that I'm giving you the right information. Okay, so here it says to just select the audio file and then choose audio file, right? But we see that the behavior doesn't work like that, audio file. So what you have to do is you have to go to edit, select used or unused, and then you go to audio file, and then now these specific menu items are available. So again, that's something that we didn't find in here necessarily, but just through a bit of trial and error, right? I remember when I first started this whole shebang, I had a comment. This one individual was saying something to the effect of, you should, kind of prepare more, and, a lot of other people prepare. It's like, guy, I'm on page 300 and something. Like, this requires, a little bit of winging it, and also, doing your best to troubleshoot. There's no preparation for reading a manual, a user guide of this length. And so, I cordially just said, thank you, appreciate the comments. But, I'm not necessarily here to, get any extra fans. I mean, I'm here to serve. I know somebody's going to watch this. They're going to take notes. They're going to do the work with me, and then they're going to be better off for it. And so, if you see a couple of, your favorite instructors or your mentors, sort stuff out, that's normal. That's just music production at its finest. I mean, it's always changing. You think about Vocal Align Ultra that just came out by Synchrony Arts, or Synchro Arts, rather. These things are going to happen, okay? So just keep the ball rolling forward. Become a great researcher. Become a great troubleshooter. And that's really what you should gather from this whole deal. All right, so we're going to import region information from an audio file. So in Logic Pro, add the audio file to another project. Okay, how do we do that? Select the audio file in the project browser. Choose audio file, import region information from the project audio browser. Okay, so let's check this out. I'm assuming it's going to be the same kind of information in terms of the setup. So I'll just go straight there. And what did it say? Import region information? Yeah. So this is really interesting, because now what they're referring to is how the regions are being positioned in the tracks area. Like, so you're referencing the data, because remember this, you can have the entire track here in the project bin, but you have the regions here, and a track can contain various regions, but and also the regions can contain the track. For example, if I re-lengthen this, we might find that it doesn't. But sometimes you'll find that some audio files have more information in them, like this one, for example, right? So anyway, if we go edit, select used, and then we go to audio file, we can import region information from selected audio files. Only different regions will be imported. Let's just try it. So I suppose now then when you export, these become easier to read in the DAW. The saved region information for that audio file is displayed in the project audio browser and can be used in the current project. So still a little unclear. Again, in an ideal world, we would have the information and then the why behind it, or maybe a little kind of information telling you about what this action is, then telling you the how, and then kind of telling you the why after. So let's see, importing compressed audio files. We know that we can bring into our Logic session AIFF. These are all different standards. WAVE, which is pretty prevalent. AAC, which I think is an Apple format. MP3, and then Apple lossless. And I don't know the difference between those. The compressed audio file is added to the tracks area, and a region that encompasses the complete audio file is created. A region that encompasses the complete audio file. Good. Audio regions that point to compressed audio files are denoted by the following symbol. So one really interesting thing about going through this manual, just in general, has been just some of these small details. For example, if you've never taken a look at the project bin, you'll see that there are some symbolism and things that are just really interesting. Let me see if I could files. Let me just see if I could do, hold on, file type. So for example, you see how we have two circles. Let me highlight this right there. So this means that this file was in stereo when it was recorded. Doesn't mean that it is stereo, of course. That's a whole nother conversation. So these here were in mono, right? And so you get more information than if you originally hadn't looked here. You would have to do a little bit more research in the tracks area. Like for those of you that follow my work, If I want to know if something is in stereo or not, usually when I bring up the multimeter, I pull up the goniometer. There's two menus here, and then I'll solo the track in question, and I'll just look at the goniometer. You see clearly that that's in stereo. If it was a single line down the middle or diagonally left or right, then that would be in mono. But now we have the information. Again, you can also gather it here. But at the end of the day, I think it's always best to visually confirm, just to be clear. All right, so you can edit this region in the same way as a normal audio region. Roger that. Audio, okay, so we know about the advanced project settings. Let's keep going. Drag the audio file you want to import from the Finder into the empty workspace. So that, yep, this is how we bring in files, whether they are compressed or not. And of course, a new audio track will be created. How do we convert a compressed audio file? Okay, select the audio region pointing to the audio file in the tracks area, then choose edit, convert audio region to new audio file from the track. Okay, so what would be the purpose of this though? The part of the audio file spanned by the audio region is converted. So the only kind of reasoning I see here, and let me just kind of create a quick mock-up, is like maybe you want to, instead of reference this region, you actually want to create another audio file that exists by itself, right? So let's distinguish all the terms we're using here. This is one region right here. Okay, then we have the track itself, and then we have the audio file contained in that track. An audio file can contain various regions, right? A track can contain various regions, but it's just important to kind of distinguish. So this is good. Let's see what they're referring to. So edit, convert, audio region. Okay, and I'm assuming they're referring to this up here. So edit, nope, they're not. Let's go to the main menu bar. Maybe edit. Do we have convert up here? Good. And then audio, what was it again? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was audio region to new audio file. So let's try that out. So okay. So, okay, cool. It looks like, okay, I see what's going on. So then now let me just write test here. Test file. And I believe this is the marimba. Okay. And so then, let me show you a little trick here. Let me use what's called the proximity icon. I can't see with my screen here. Okay, cool. Just command click the little logic icon. All right, so then now let's go into the track itself. I'm going to go into audio files. And so if I look, here it is right here. So you're essentially, like I said, creating a new file from the audio region. Let's listen to this really quick. Okay, then there it was right there. So that's some, pretty cool information, right? Just to kind of think about, just to kind of look at. It's really interesting to think about that. All right, so let me play this out a little bit, and then we'll get into this next part. All right, so just so you know what we're working with right here. Usually what I'll do, just to make sure that the listeners at home or wherever they may find themselves, I'll just usually bring down the volume. I'm not going to do it with a EQ. So to me, this is, whoa, look at this new bug. Have you guys seen this before? This is a new Logic 10.6 bug. It's pretty sweet. Technicolor. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the master track, the volume, just to make sure that we're all listening at a decent volume. I don't recommend this in general. This is not a practice that I would condone, but just to make sure, again, that we're all just listening, we're all on the same page, and we're not blasting anybody's ears here, okay? All right, so where are we at here? Let me move some screens around. Yeah, I never understand why these things always move around. It's, we're gonna get it, all right, so let's go back into the manual, and I'm gonna move this, or wait, where is, all right, sweet. All right, so we're converting a compressed audio file. We found it inside of the audio files, and then it also, there's an option here to kind of bring it back into the project audio browser. So I don't know, maybe you want to distort it, maybe you want to do some destructive editing, not quite sure again. All right, supported media Files formats. So what is all this about? Logic Pro allows you to access any digitally stored audio recording on your hard disk and most common Mac file formats, as well as several other formats. So of course, it's best to have 24-bit unless you're looking for some degraded lo-fi stuff. The standard in the industry, well, depending which industry we're talking about, but the music industry, 44, for film, 48 or higher, 96. So I'm not going to go through this just because doesn't really pertain to what we're doing here, but I will go over this first one. So the WAV and IFF files. So the acronym audio interchange file formats are very similar. They can be stored at different bit depths, right? In mono, stereo, or surround, and at sample rates up to 192. I know there's arguments for and against. Do you hear anything over 44? That's up to you. I know that I've done a couple tests, and I certainly heard with certain audio recordings and certain string instruments, I definitely heard a jump in quality when I was recording at 96K during one session. Logic Pro also supports broadcast WAV files, which can contain timestamp information. So these WAV files contain timestamp information and can be recognized by a clock symbol shown alongside the audio region name in the project browser. Wonder if we can see that if we look around a little bit. Is this what they're referring to? This little symbol here? This looks more like a metronome to me. I don't know if that's what they're referring to. But there's some symbolism here. Okay, let's keep going. The file extension, WAV, allowing them to be read by any application that supports the standard WAV file. So it seems like WAVs are generally a bit more recognized and implemented, so probably not a bad idea to stick to that unless you have a certain publisher or something. And even then, when you bounce, you can change the file format. So don't get too caught up in this game of preparation and, like, let's say, they wanted AIFF at the end of the process. Well, you could just change it here, right? Maybe you recorded in WAV, and how do you find out where all these file types are? If you enter, again, there's the preferences and the project settings right over here. If you enter recording inside of the preferences, you will find your recording file type. This means that we're using this format, which again has embedded metadata. I'm going to hit Command W to close that, Command W to close that. And looks like there's another format called CAF. Again, if it's not applicable, you got formats for sound designers. Looks like AIFF is what they use. MP3 is obviously relevant in the sense that it's a bit more, kind of easier to move around and doesn't take up as much space. Apple loops, audio loops contain additional identification information, time and date, category, mood, key, and tempo. So Apple loops have a little bit more information. They also contain a number of transient markers, which break them down into small time slices. The main advantage of audio loops is their ability to automatically match the tempo and key of a Logic Pro project, obviously. Software instruments loops contain MIDI information that triggers a musical phrase. When you add it to a software instrument track, the MIDI note information can be edited. Awesome. All right, and then we have MIDI files as well. All right, let's go into GarageBand projects. You can open a GarageBand project in Logic just as you would open a Logic project, but what's going to happen is that it's going to create a Logic version from it. The GarageBand project translates uno a uno into Logic Pro. Logic Pro automatically creates the required number and type and tracks to mirror your GarageBand session. The project uses the tempo, right? So it's gonna be exactly the same. Obviously, there'll be some modifications because they are different programs. GarageBand is like a tricycle, and Logic Pro is like a Lamborghini. It's just a different world. Software instrument parts are played by GarageBand instruments in Logic Pro. So any mixing data used by the software is also going to be imported. Sweet. So it looks like it's gonna mirror everything that's going on. So let's keep moving. You cannot open Logic projects in GarageBand. I'm sure that will change at some point. Nor can you export a Logic Pro in a format that can be read. Yeah, of course. Of course, if you wanted to export your stems, then you can drag them into GarageBand for further use. Final Cut. Import and export audio between Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. I don't use this, but just a quick heads up, you just go to File, Import, Final Cut Pro XML, and then that'll take you home. Looks like, wait, what was the difference between this one and that one? Oh, importing a Final Cut Pro XML file into Logic, and then exporting. So there's a way to export as well. We know that we can export standard MIDI files as well, right? And a couple ways to do this. You can go to File, Import. That would be to bring it in or just literally drag it in. You could also do it from the All Files browser. So let's say you had a MIDI loop or a MIDI file somewhere. Let me see if I could find mine really quick. I'll go here, MIDI files, and let's say I was using one of these guys, right? I would just drag it in from here. So lots of ways to do it. And you can also just go into File, Import, MIDI file. Now, why is this useful? Well, let's say you're somebody that doesn't necessarily play piano. You're not like a virtuoso, but you know music. You can hack the system. Just because you don't know how to play an instrument doesn't mean that that should limit you, right? I mean, we're living in a time where anybody, if they have the will, if they have the energy, if they have the wherewithal, can literally hack the whole system. I mean, I've made songs that I never thought I could write, orchestral pieces. Watch my last YouTube video for that. Just wrote a song called I Fade in collaboration with some incredible people. And yeah, I mean, as long as you know how to hack the system, that's really what will be the defining point. So MIDI files are really cool. Of course, you shouldn't depend on any format. In other words, I don't think you should just drag in audio, or don't just stick to MIDI files, because that might generalize your sound in too much of a simplified way. But utilize all the technology and be a connoisseur or a jack of all trades, so that when duty calls and you need to fulfill on a certain gig or something, you're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. All right. So this is cool. We're opening MIDI files. Man, we a couple of videos ago, we had this really phenomenal session on formatting these. It was such a game changer. You might want to go back there, because in the past, I remember I would drag in a MIDI file from somewhere and it would look all disorganized and disheveled. And it was just such a really cool experience to have it just drag in exactly the way that I remembered it. So yeah, just throwing that out there. All right, preparing. Oh, it looks like we might go over it again really quick. Select all the. Okay, let's see if this works. So I'm gonna export this. Okay, so I've selected the track. Go to Edit, select all, normalize all playback parameters. So I'm going to go to, so this is a little unclear of how this is going to happen, but hold on. What does it say? Normalize, MIDI, normalize region parameters. Hold on, so do I have a MIDI option here? Yep, yeah. So here it is right here. Normalize all MIDI parameters. I don't see it in here. I'm assuming they're referring to the project band. So, oh, wait a minute. This doesn't show up here. So maybe, all right, let's go back to the books. Select all MIDI regions, then go edit. Okay, then you select them all. Normalize by control clicking, then choosing MIDI normalize region parameters from the shortcut menu. Okay, so you guys saw me do it here. Boom. Then we go to MIDI. I'm looking for the word normalize. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay, so again, we need to get this updated. Maybe it's up here somewhere. Normalize. Don't see it. maybe up here. This might work out a little bit better. Nope. Okay. So again, we'll X that one out. Let's see. We're going to go here and X this one out. All right. So yeah, every time I see something that just doesn't seem to translate, we are striking it through. Okay. All right. So if we want to save MIDI regions as standard MIDI files, you would just export, and I've done this before. So here, file. What's up with this? Good. MIDI file. All right, and that's going to export it. But again, part of the magic was in the preparation of it. So hopefully you guys can find that video, because it was pretty informative. Can't think about it top of mind right now. I want to keep moving with this manual. But remember that most hardware sequencers can only read this format. Okay, we got to keep moving. Save a MIDI region in file format. Maybe this is what it was. So let's see. When we go to Logic Pro Preferences, General. All right, hold on. Logic Pro Preferences, General. Okay. Export MIDI file, save single MIDI region as format 0. So what you're doing when you enable that, I think it's on by default, is you're making this compliant with save MIDI in this format, which is called 0. Say select a MIDI region, then choose file, export. And I believe this is actually part of the preparation as well. So in other words, when I export this file, export MIDI file, what we get, let me just send this to the desktop. All right, good. We sent this over to the desktop. Let me see what screen. Okay, this one here. And then all I'll do is, let me just go to a new track at the bottom here. So, all right, we'll drag that in. All right, so you can see that this is normally what happens. This whole configuration here where everything is just mapped out, like it doesn't work. So there's a way to do it where it does kind of join together so that it's just one file. And so go back to one of the previous videos for that. This is kind of another format. Selection is MIDI file. Yeah, we're going to keep moving here. Okay, then finally we have AAF files. This is by, let's see, such as Pro Tools. You can use it to import multiple audio tracks inclusive of reference to tracks, time positions, and volume automation. So it looks like there is some embedded information in this as well, so that's pretty cool. You can import multiple tracks. You can actually reference the other tracks, have timestamps, time positions, and then volume automation in the track. So that's awesome. Export the current project as an AAF file. So how do we do that? We go to File, Export Project as AAF. Let's try that out really quick. So let's say we wanted to send this off and, you know, maybe have somebody mix it in Pro Tools. Project is AAF file. All right, and then we have some information here. We can change the sample rate, the bit depth, file format, and then the dithering type. In fact, let's see what that looks like just for reference. There are people that like to use multiple DAWs. If you're a beginner, I highly recommend you do not do that. Test. We'll send this over to the desktop. I just want to see what this looks like. Yeah, so there it is right there. Let me drag this over so you can see it. 1 second. Boom. So there's looks like a Pro Tools or one of those formats. Awesome. Looks like it's copying all the audio files. Okay. Let's keep moving here. If you want to import this, You can choose File, Import AAF, then select a file in the dialog that appears. Is this for Final Cut Pro? I think that I've never used the program, so I'm assuming that's what it is. But all right, cool. We're going to take a quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to get back and get into arranging a project. You ready? Here we go. Welcome back. Just needed to take a quick headspace break. You know, looking at this manual sometimes it just gets deep, right? Because we're looking at the crevices or crevasses of all the nitty gritty. I mean, again, there's a reason people don't do this, right? Just because it can be confusing. It's territory that really isn't really kind of visited often, and so just by doing this, we're getting these gems, and I guarantee you it's just a matter of time before you start implementing. Let's call it 30%. Let's call it 50%. What if that 60-70% made a massive difference? You know what they say, that like 20% of what you do creates 80% of your results. So it could just take one piece of information, in other words, to completely change the game. So my name's Eddie Gray. We're going to get into arranging a project, and it's important that you understand to have the DAW next to you, okay? If you're just listening to me, that's great, passive listening, but really you want to be an active participant in this process. We know we won't be here forever, so we're going to capitalize and do the work while we're here now. All right, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and hit me up. You can also reach my team at support@hfmusicacademy.com. Let's talk about arranging, shall we? All right, here we go. All right, after adding audio, MIDI, drummer, right? You have an actual track. You've built the project. Now we can arrange it by moving, almost like building blocks, the regions in the tracks area. As you work in the tracks area, you can play the project at any time to hear your latest changes. There's so many little tricks here that are going to help you out. There's some great arrangement tools that I love to teach and show various people. Arrange regions in a variety of ways. We can create, edit fades, have automatic crossfades, batch fades, removing silent passages from audio files with a feature called Remove Silence from Audio Region, using folders to manage groups of tracks as a single unit. This is a really good workflow. Groove templates, which is another hidden feature here, a lot of people don't talk about, which will allow you to apply not quantization per se, but a rhythmic feel. So the music starts to feel like a hand in glove of a region to other audio or MIDI regions. You can also edit region parameters in my favorite, the region inspector, to control the sound of both audio and MIDI. Of course, your selections will differ a little bit. You can also add arrangement markers. Okay, so that's a really nice feature. New to 10.3, I think, 10.4, and use them to organize the project into sections. So this is probably the fastest way of just moving sections around just like at will and listening right away to a new arrangement. And then we also have arrangement sets, which allows us to instantly audition various arrangement parts or arrangements, plural. So let's go. Work in the tracks area. The tracks area is where you arrange regions. So just to be clear, that's just the main window, right? When you look at Logic's GUI, it's just the main window. The tracks area located in the center shows a visual representation of time moving from left to right. You build your project by arranging regions in rows, right, horizontal, called tracks that run from the beginning to the end of the tracks area. Now, of course, my good friends, we're not talking about live loops, because now everything becomes vertical, and then that's a whole nother thing. So we'll get into that vertical workflow later. But at the top of the tracks area, the ruler shows the units of time, either in bars, beats, divisions, or ticks, but the standard time format's probably what you're gonna end up relying on as well. Because what if you need a track to be 2 minutes long, or you're creating a sound alike and it's only, you know, a minute and 45 seconds, whatever it is. So use both. It's good to use them interchangeably. You can position regions and other items in the tracks area with the units on the ruler. Snap regions and other items to the grid, which is my preferred workflow. It's what I teach over at hfmusicacademy.com, to precisely align them with the bars, beats, or other time divisions, and use alignment guides to align them with other items. Guys, if you haven't used alignment guides, turn them on. All right, you find them in the snap to grid. It's a beautiful function. You can control the result of overlapping regions and other edits using drag modes. So that's a whole nother technique. I hope we get into that. I really do hope we cover it now. So let's go. Let me bring you in here and we will take this a step further. Here we go. Nice. All right, so bring some energy to it. We have the playhead. We know what that looks like, right? That is the vertical bar here, and this vertical bar moves from left to right, plays all the regions in your tracks, whether they be audio or MIDI. We have the ruler at the top of the tracks area, and then right below that, you can see the markers, which are not denoted right now, but this is a new feature where regardless if you have it selected as in the global tracks area or not, you can still see them for reference. Cool. All right, here are the tracks. This is referred to as the tracks header, and then of course here's the tracks area. All right, so the playhead extends all the way from top to bottom, right? Moves from left to right. It shows you kind of what's currently playing, so that's obvious stuff, but it may not be obvious to some beginners. So at the top of the playhead is a triangle that you can drag to move the playhead. So one way of navigating, oh geez, did Logic close on me? I think it did. One way of navigating let me go back to the manual then, just for now. The playhead is by using period and comma, right? You can also, again, as they stated, grab the triangle that sits at the tip of the playhead and you can drag it left and right. That's another way to go about it, okay? You can also scroll to see another part of the project and zoom in for precise editing. So it's important to recognize the value of navigation and transport. How do I see something? And then also, how do I record something? This is exactly the way that I like to teach the program with all of the people that I've been able to consult, companies I've been able to consult. I always go back to navigation and transport on day one. It's really the only way to be sure-footed as you navigate and work this program. When you open Logic Pro, the tracks area appears in the main window. You can also open the tracks area as a separate window. So that's really interesting. We can open another window should that work for what you're up to. So we'll look at that in a quick second. Let's keep reading here. The ruler runs horizontally across the top of the tracks, right? We've heard that before. For projects set to use the musical grid, the ruler shows the time format in bars, beats. For projects that don't use a musical grid, the ruler shows a standard time format of minutes and seconds. So let's go ahead and just take a look at that feature. So as of right now, when I hover, you can see that I'm looking at bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. Now, how is this behavior even dictated? Well, when I go into my project settings under general, you make a decision or not but by default, it says here, use musical grid. So if I change my primary ruler into the time format, now we're looking at time, right? We're not looking at bar beat division anymore. We're looking at, let's see, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So if I had a track that I got commissioned to write, or the team over at HF Music Academy got commissioned to write, and we knew it had to be 30 seconds long, or let's take that a step further. Let's go 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now I love this because if I look at the help tag, that's the rectangle right below the cycle locators, you can see that it's literally telling you how long this song is. It's now 1:30, and let's say I wanted it to be on the dot, right? You could just maneuver yourself so that you get right to where you need to get to. So hit C to turn that off. I personally like using both. How do I do that? Well, if I'm in the tracks area, I'm using the musical time division now, right? Bars, beats, divisions, tick. And by the way, if you hover in tighter, you won't just see bars, you'll now see beats, right? So this is bar 1, beat 1. Let me give you some, bar 1, beat 2, bar 1, beat 3, bar 1, beat 4, and then bar 2, beat 1, bar 2, beat 2, so on and so forth. All right, so how do we use both? I love this feature right here. This is like the best. Secondary ruler, y'all. So now, not only do we have the musical time division, but right above that, I can reference time, right? How long does the A section need to be? Well, if you're a student of the game, regardless if you're in popular music or if you're in production music, right, it's more of a job, then I'll tell you, it's important to study the game. I don't care who you like. Study the game. Study how long their songs are, how long are their sections, how long are their transitions, how long are their turnarounds, how long, how loud is the music. Study it. Be the best that you can be. Don't just settle for mediocrity and just putting stuff out just because. Okay, it's super, super important that you learn from these musical and artistic giants, current and, of course, from the past. All right, so that's cool. How do we position items using the ruler? Okay, well, let's check this out. And by the way, my first point was to drag this over. You see how I'm clicking and then I just drag the playhead? So this is one way to do it. I personally find this to be very inefficient. If you hold control, you can mix for finer adjustment. I like using period, comma, and then I just love using key commands as well. \5, this kind of thing. This is called go to position. Let's go to bar 70. Boom, we're at bar 70. Hit return. I'm all the way back to normal. Key command Z, macro view, right? Really nice. This is how I want you to be able to maneuver and dance with the program. All right, so let's see here. We got the tracks, the regions. Let's look at this next section. The ruler runs horizontally. We talked about that. And you're either using the musical grid or you're using the time format. As the project plays, you can see the part currently playing by watching the playhead move. These are all things that everyone assumes that they know or what have you, but I do believe it's good to go over it and just to solidify these concepts in our brains. When you move the playhead or move regions or other items in the tracks area, you can use the ruler to place them at the correct point in time. Alignment guides appear when you move regions and other items to help you align them. Okay, so just really quick, alignment guides. If you go into the snap mode menu, I'm going to click in the up and down arrow menu. I'm going to hover all the way down. And if we hit the key command, option command G, or just select this right here. Now, when I move anything, we have some alignment guides. See that yellow bar? See how it helps me navigate, right? All right, let me hit command Z to get, remove that. Let's move a MIDI region. Check this out. See, now it's letting me know, hey, you're in perfect alignment here or you're not. Okay? Alignment guides. Turn it on. Let's see here. When Smart Snap is chosen from the Snap pop-up menu, the units shown in the ruler reflect the value set in the tracks area. Okay, so a lot of people ask me about my approach and why do I like to be so precise. The reason I don't like Smart is because you're settling for your screen zoom level. So if I have this macro kind of view, I'm looking at it from afar, right? Basically, the selections I make will be in bars, right? But then if I zoom in a little tighter, and now we can see that I'm not moving in bars anymore, but I'm moving in divisions. So this leaves to me too much to chance. I want to be the one dictating what the decisions are. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please take some time to move and use these snap to grid modes, and you use smart, and you'll see that this is almost an automatic feature. It's making decisions for you. But the way I teach, the curriculums that I've sold, I'm a proponent of making your own choices and kind of empowering the Logic user. Yeah. All right. So let's see here. So yeah, let's not do Smart Snap, okay? Set a project to use a musical grid. Go to File, Project Settings. We already talked about that. We talked about alignment guides already. Key Command, Option, Command G. And now we are talking about snapping items. So again, this is, for me, what it's all about. The tracks area includes a grid that helps you align regions, automation points, and other items with the time divisions in the ruler. You want to save yourself a lot of time? Go ahead and start taking notes right now. Really pay attention. Really go deep. Don't take it for granted. Really look at this. I'm telling you, 7 years in the game now. I've been doing this full time. Worked with a bunch of big publishers, a lot of great artists. I'm telling you, this right here is the gold mine. This will make a difference. All right. When you perform any of the following actions, the items move according to the current snap value. So moving and resizing regions, moving the playhead, adjusting the cycle regions, and dragging loops to the tracks area, moving automation points and automation curves. One thing I do want to see, just to be clear, so it said moving the playhead. So that's the only part that I wasn't clear about. I know all of this other stuff is relevant. So in other words, if I set this to snap to grid bar, I would expect this to move per bar. But again, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they're referring to this behavior. I doubt it. Hold on, let me just change this to division. Yeah, no, that's not it. Okay, so let's read further on that. And I'm actually going to highlight that. Again, I'm doing kind of this broad research to make sure that I can correct as much of this as I can. Let's keep going here. So snap function is relative. Okay, so there's a kind of more advanced feature here. When we start talking about absolute changes in relative, it's really not that difficult to understand, I promise you. I know it sometimes sounds complicated, but it's just not. It's just an easy concept, okay? So by default, it's set to relative, and you can change it. So what does it mean? When we set something to its relative position, it means that if you move something, or when you move something, it retains the same relative distance from its original grid position. And I'm just going to show you an example rather than reading all that jargon. You can show the grid in the tracks area to help you visualize the positions of items in the tracks area relative to the snap value. You can show the grid in the tracks area to help you visualize the positions. Oh, okay. That's a nice little tip right there. I didn't think about it that way. So if we go to display and you go to tracks, you can actually set the grid lines. So everything is kind of easy to look at back here. So I'm going to set this for all y'all. And I'm going to start moving values, and I'll just do something like this. In fact, I should hide everything by hitting Control H, and then I'll hit Control H with this one, and then H will hide everything. Okay, so then now we're gonna make this a very clean workflow. Let's delete this. We're just looking at this one MIDI region. Please pay no mind that there is nothing in here. That's not what we're doing here. We're just moving this region. All right, and then to make this perfectly clear, I'm going to create a perfect region, what they would call a perfect integer, right? Bar 15, it's on beat 1, division 1, tick 1, and then the length of this entire MIDI region is bar 1. It's just one bar. You can see it right there in the help tag. Just click and hold to access that. All right, so then now when I click and drag this over, again, if you look at my alignment guides, if you look at the grid, what's happening, my good friends? It's doing it precisely, right? That's what we're looking for here. We're looking for accuracy. We're looking for deliberate control, okay? Not happenstance. So if I switch this over to beat, it will no longer move to bar 16. Now it goes to bar 15, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, and then we're at bar 16, right? So I really want you to play with these to understand what's happening here. This is magic, and if this right here is worth the price of admission. I know we're providing this free, and I understand that you have to invest your time and your energy to watch this, but I am telling you the return will be multiplied by 1,000. I mean, the workflow, the ease of use, the clarity that you'll experience, it's going to pay off in such a big way. And again, I know I've said this before, but I'm looking forward to hearing those stories. They're coming. They're here. All right, so again, the only thing I'm unclear about is just moving the playhead, but I'm sure we will get to that. But again, we were talking about absolute and relative. So when I go to the snap to grid mode, right, and you can see that mine is set to absolute. Well, I teach a lot of webinars, a lot of courses, a lot of classes, and so I'm always kind of showing people the difference. But let's look at relative really quick. So you guys see how I'm not on bar 15, right? Let me move the playhead. I'm just one division away from that, right? So if I am in relative mode and my snap to grid is set to bar, when I drag this over, it's going to literally just go to the next bar over, but in its same position relative to its original application. So this is where it was before on this first grid line, and this is where it is now. So this is a really magnificent way of translating your movement. Now, if you want the absolute value, now it disregards its current position, which is one grid line away, and what's going to happen, it's going to place it right on bar 16. And again, this is all configured and this is all decided by your snap to grid mode. So if you don't know what I mean, just try it, and I guarantee you'll have your aha moment. I am in bar with my snap to grid. I'm going to drag this over, and look at this. It's on bar 16 now because my snap to grid is in an absolute value. And so, of course, the natural question becomes something to the effect of, well, when would I use this? Well, believe me, it's going to come. And so obviously I can't harp on this all day. This is kind of a bit more hands-on and in-depth, and this is something that we can work on privately later or in other courses, other seminars. But for now, I just need you to understand that this is how this works, right? Our duty here is to get to the manual, and so I'll cover any and all basics that I feel are valuable. But really, the real learning starts when you finish taking your notes, right? You like the video, you share the video, you post it on your socials, and then I'm just kidding, guys. And then you do the work yourself, and then you start testing out the waters. That's right there, the real learning, okay? All right, so let's keep going here. We've gone over all of the various ways of using the snap to grid. I will not refer to the standard bar beat division tick, but I will look at some of the overlooked options, frames. So if you're working with video, super important, quarter frames, okay? Samples, edit operations, snap to the nearest sample, and then off. You're off of the grid. All right, so you can make sample accurate edits only at a high zoom level, good friends. So if you need a really refined zoom level, you might want to use samples. Use the zoom slider to zoom in and take advantage of the save and recall zoom setting. So this is a really cool setting. If you want, I would suggest you look into it by going in the key command window. I'm not going to do it now. Show the grid in the tracks area. All right, choose view grid lines from the tracks area. Grid lines from the tracks area. Do you guys see it? I don't see it. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't think this has been updated yet. And it, just to be clear, wait, where was that? Oh yeah, here. So yeah, I didn't see that. I will, I guess, check up here. View, show toolbar. No, 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 and no. Okay, so you know what that means? All right, that went a little bit berserk there. All right, cool. So we gotta strike this because it's not working. So here we go. Where's my strike? This guy? Yeah, somewhere in here. Boom. Okay, snap to an absolute position. We covered it. Override the track's area grid. So this means regardless if you're in any snap mode, you basically override it by turning it off by key command. Or let's see if they have any other suggestions. Maybe there's a keyboard modifier or something. So if we press and hold control while dragging the item, the division value you choose in the control bar determines the editing grid scale at a lower zoom level. At higher zoom levels, close-up view, the editing grid scales by a certain factor relative to the division value. So that to me sounds confusing. But let me just show you what I believe they're talking about. And again, they didn't state which snap to grid mode you're on. I always leave mine at bar. I don't see a reference to smart or anything. But if I hold control while I'm moving the regions, you can see that I am not moving per bar, but per division now. And so that's because I'm hitting a keyboard modifier. Let me change my zoom level to see if this information is still correct. It actually is still correct. And so I'm assuming they mean smart. Again, I can't be sure of it. But anyway, that's what I have in front of me here. So it basically changes your division value. So if you start at bar, it goes down to division. If I start at beat, right here we're moving per beats, as you can see. Okay, now I'm going to hold command and we're moving per division. So if I ever have the pleasure of teaching you and working with you, you'll find that my workflow looks something like this. I choose bar for my snap, and because I can access division, I'll choose beat as my nudge. And basically, I always have access to either bar, beat, division, or tick. And I have a secret that I can also show you later when it comes to accessing ticks. All right, let's keep going here. Select the region, then press and control shift while dragging the items. The editing grid switches to ticks. I guess that time is now. So then now you can access ticks, right? And again, they talk about higher zoom levels. I don't know if that's necessarily true. You can try that out yourself. I just tried it. I didn't find it to be true, but maybe it works while you're in smart mode. When the track's area is zoomed out so that the current snap value would result in extremely large movements or edits, the snap pop-up menu is temporarily dimmed and smart snap is used instead. Wow. I don't know if that's true, but we're gonna have to try it. I'm zoomed out as much as I can potentially zoom out. I highly doubt this is going to turn off. Yeah, it's still moving, and so again, not sure if they're referring to smart or what have you. I'm not gonna ding them. Let's keep going. Where was I here? When the track's area is zoomed in, smaller snap value, normal mouse movement, about large grid. No, I'm gonna keep going. All right, using Control Shift breaks the uno relationship between the pointer and region. This means that you may need to move the pointer a long way to make the region move 1 pixel. So basically what they're saying here is you have to watch the help tag to understand how much you're moving the region or the event in question. So look at the numerical indication. So if I start moving this, look at that help tag. Look at what it's saying. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in for you. I wonder if you can see that. See that? So you got to look at that. So when I hit control, again, now I access division. Look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when I hit control shift, look at the ticks, guys, 227, 220, right? We know 240 ticks equals, or 241 equals a division, right? And hence the world goes round. So you can have 240 ticks in a division. There are several divisions in a beat, and there are 4 beats in a bar. Okay, awesome. Vertically zoom the Logic Pro tracks area. So turn on auto zoom if you want to vertically zoom. So let me bring all my tracks back, and then if I hit vertical zoom on the top right, everything will automatically adjust to serve the purpose of looking at the screen. Now, if you're just joining us, the grid looks the way it does because I changed the display level so that you can understand today's transmission, today's lesson in full detail. So that it doesn't normally look like this. It normally looks something like that, right? So I'm just giving you the 101 on how to break all this information down. All right, cool. Let's go to page 320. We can quantize regions, right? This could be audio or MIDI. In the past, you couldn't quantize audio. It's amazing that it actually works so well. It's pretty just incredible. And let's see if there's anything here for us. So we can quantize in the region inspector, also in the piano roll. So let's say we wanted to quantize this lead trumpet. We could do it from this menu. And also if I double click, we can do it from this menu as well. Okay, anything else? The quantize parameter in the region inspector applies to the whole region. If you want different parts of a region have different quantize values, you can split the region. So, hold on, I just want to make sure. Apply different quantization settings and then join them. Oh, that's pretty sweet. I definitely did not know that. I know that you could apply different quantization settings, but I didn't know that they would maintain their value. So let's say for whatever reason you want, in fact, let's actually do this. Let's get more hands on here. Where's my piano? Right here. Okay, so let's listen to this piano. Boy, that's loud. Just give me 1 sec. Oh, there's that bug. Let me put on a song for that. Hold on. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go to the master, bring that down a good amount. Again, I don't think that's a good idea in general. Just want to make sure the volume is nice and even here. So I'm going to control click right there. Or I'm sorry, command click. I've got the marquee tool selected and just cutting stuff up. So I can change the quantization value in this region to, let's just do eighth notes for fun. And then on this one, I'll do quarter notes. All right, let's hear how they differ. Yeah, here we go. Hear that in this specific region, we're moving in eighth notes 1 and 2, and then when we get to this one, we're just moving in quarter notes. Well, that's because I changed the value of the parts that were being played. And so this is something that you really should play with. It really is such a game changer. But here's the original part. So something else that you can do, I believe, let me hit Command Z. All right, is like, let's say, all right, so you see how I'm navigating, right? Using all these various commands and keyboard modifiers. All right, so let's say we like the beginning, change everything from here on out. We want to change the quantization value. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit Shift F. It will select all the following notes. And then I'm going to command click this bad boy right here. And that's going to deselect it. Oh, wait a minute. I can't have that tool. Yeah, I had the pencil tool selected. Why are you not deselecting? You have to hold Shift rather. Awesome. Okay, so then we're going to change this value, not in the region inspector because it'll change everything. We're going to change it here. And so then I'm going to say, okay, well, I want to quantize this by eighth notes, or let's do something a bit more radical. Let's do half notes. All right, so let's listen to this. Okay, now that wouldn't necessarily make musical sense, but I just want to make clear that you can separately quantize the various parts inside of a MIDI region, whereas in the region inspector, you're treating the entire region as a whole. And then just a quick heads up, right below that, in the track inspector, you're treating the whole track. Okay, so decisions. Again, I've given you a lot of information here to empower you. If you just take notes and you put that notepad or your notes on your phone right next to you. I prefer not having my phone next to me while I work. Here, let me look at you guys really quick. What's up? Eddie Gray reading the Logic User Guide. I prefer not having my phone next to me simply because it's just a distraction, right? I mean, everybody's trying to vie for your attention and, get you to do something and pull you away from whatever it is that you're doing. And that's cool, when it's time to serve and when it's time to give. But when it's your time to make your music, don't compromise. Don't compromise. I remember what Henry David Thoreau or Ralph Waldo Emerson would talk about. I think it was Thoreau, the muse. And when the muse comes, when it hits you, when you're really feeling it, and there's just that musical kind of inspiration and vibe, do not compromise. It's really important to take that and value it, and just like, it's a trophy. It's super important. It's a crown, right? And so you're not going to compromise your crown for, some, dude or some girl that's trying to pull you away just to, watch TV or something, right? So you want to make sure that you prioritize the craft, and then the craft will prioritize you. It will give you some opportunities. It will give you some openings, right? Cool. All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, Logic User Guide and Tutorial. We do this 6 days a week, brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. If you like the content, all we ask is that you sub. Resources for the modern creative. Go ahead and just smash that like button, and then we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it nonstop until we get it done. All right, shall we? Let's go. All right, very cool. All right, so we have to get back and look at this next section. Let me move some screens around. So now we know that we can quantize MIDI event values that's separate from the regions, that's separate from the tracks. Same here for audio. When you quantize audio, white lines called quantized flex markers appear over the selected audio regions to indicate where audio has been time stretched during the quantization process. So let me see. As always begins at the start of a region. If the MIDI region is not okay, this is cool. If the MIDI region is not aligned with the beginning of a bar, neither is the quantization grid. So essentially, if we look a little bit closer here, you have to have the value right on the line, and if it's not, you might have to nudge it over. So this is quantized right on the line, and this one is not. Sometimes we play a part so bad that even when you quantize it, it's off time, and so you're gonna have to learn how to fix that. Okay, let's keep going. Using drag modes. Okay, this is cool. I'm gonna hit this, and then we'll call it a day. Page 322, Logic User Guide. Let's go. When you enable this feature, you'll notice in what I would call the local menu bar, at the very top of the track header, I will go over it in a second, you find drag modes. And these have a specific purpose, and I would only use them if you really feel comfortable with your navigation and transport skills. Please do not use this if you're not ready or if you're not equipped, because they're just going to make your life harder, okay? But I'll still cover it just so we get into it, but we're just going to do a quick glance. All right, so if this drag mode, which you'll find respectively right next to the snap to grid, by default, you should just leave it on no overlap. But there are some really, really cool ways to utilize this. If you overlap regions, the overlapped area of the left region is shortened. So basically, it just kind of cuts it off. If you have overlap selected, it's going to preserve or maintain the current region borders when you drag one region over the other. Essentially, right now, if I drag this over here, there's nothing underneath, right? In fact, let me zoom in a little tighter just to give you a better sense. So there's no other region underneath, right? I'm just kind of swallowing like Pac-Man or something. All right, but if I then choose overlap, check this out. If I overlap a region, it's still there. And so I forgot which one takes priority for playback. I believe it's this one, the one that's on the left, but I would have to double check that. Let's see if it gives us some information. No, it doesn't tell us which one plays, but we'll get there. All right, shuffle right. When you align regions, when you move, a couple different things happen. Things start to move by themselves. When you resize the left side of a region, the preceding regions move by the change in length. And then when you delete something, the files will move. So for both shuffle right and left, when you drag one region over another, the region switches positions. So if there was ever a time, actually, let me finish reading this. Only one audio region at a time can be played on each track. When two audio regions on the same track overlap, only the right region is heard. Oh, I'm so glad that we saw that. I did think it was the left, so that's good. All right. So let's say I wanted to switch these parts. I don't know. Let me just reverse this by hitting Control-Shift-R just for fun. And I don't want to go through the rigor of, moving this one over and like, oh man, that was the wrong edit. It could be this simple, guys. You go into drag mode, you go into shuffle left, and you just drag this over here and look at what happens. Simple as that. Now the reversed region is first, and then the normal vibes are just hanging. They're just chilling here. Check it out. All right, very cool. So that's as far as I'm going to take it. I have some super advanced material when it comes to this that can help you creatively speaking, but also from a business point of view. But for now, I really think no overlap is really kind of the way to go about this. If you're seasoned, I can see, or even intermediate, I can see a place for X fade for you. And then I only want shuffle left, shuffle right for those people that feel really comfortable in their Logic seat. Otherwise, we're going to scrub a Logic project. Here, let me just look over a little bit and see how much more we have here. Again, this is not rehearsed, obviously. And yeah, you know what? I think I'll cover scrubbing and then I'll stop so we can get to customize it. Sweet. All right, just finishing up the Logic user guide and tutorial. My name is Eddie Gray. Just want to give back, guys. I love this program with all my heart. It gave me a second chance to accomplish my dreams. I've been writing music that I absolutely love, producing other artists, making money, and this is just a way to give back and a way to serve other people. All right, so let's go ahead and finish off here. We're going to scrub a Logic project. You can scrub a project to locate or listen to a sound at a particular point in time. I personally never got into this. I don't know if this is some like older Pro Tools behavior or something. I maybe I've used it like once or twice when I've tried to make like a really precise edit. I just, for some reason, my editing skills just don't require it, but we're still going to go over it. There might be some application for you. When you scrub a project, you quickly audition it by moving the playhead across the tracks area. Now, something I just want to throw out there really quick before we even get and I don't know if they mentioned this in here or not, but I just want to be clear that if you want to access this, you're going to have to access this inside of your preferences. If you go to audio editing, and let me just highlight that for you. Down here at the bottom, unless this is actually on, I don't know if it's on by default, it isn't going to work. Okay, so just want to make sure you understand that this is where you would find it. Logic Pro Preferences, audio, editing, turn that on. All right. Let's see here. When the scrubbing with audio and tracks is active. Okay, so look, they did mention it right there. Scrubbing always applies to MIDI regions, but when the scrubbing with audio and tracks areas in preferences is active in tracks area preference, that's kind of confusing language. Audio regions are also scrubbed. Muted tracks and regions are not scrubbed, so you can control which tracks and regions you hear by muting or soloing them. Okay, so how do we do this? We're going to zoom in and playhead will be stopped. You're going to grab the playhead and move it back and forth through the parts of the project you want to hear at the speed you want to scrub the section. Is this true? Hold on, I don't know if this is true. And I just want to follow their guidelines because I know how to do it myself, but let's go to pause. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. Okay, maybe. Okay, so just to be clear, for kind of the everyday Logic user, we usually don't use pause, right? We usually just use spacebar. But spacebar is stop, And so if I were to perform that action with in stop mode, it wouldn't work. So this is fascinating because now if we're in pause mode, now we can actually utilize scrubbing. So yeah, I mean, it sounds cool, but I just don't understand kind of the how. I don't know. Let's keep reading. Maybe we'll get some more information here. So we're in pause mode. We just got the playhead and we just started moving it back and forth. And then it, depending on how fast you drag it, it's going to scrub it and it's going to sound a little bit different. Or there's actually some key commands for it here. If the pause button is not visible, you can show it. Okay, cool. So they kind of give you the heads up, but they don't really tell you that it has to be in. And so that could be, you know, a little bit conflicting, especially if you're new. All right, so if you want to scrub specific audio regions, select the audio regions, then scrub the project. Only the selected audio regions are heard. Only unmuted MIDI regions are also heard. Okay. Okay, so I'm assuming they mean this. Yeah, okay, this is what they mean. So yeah, open if you want to, you know, isolate something, go to the audio track editor, key command E, and then start scrubbing. I mean, to me, it sounds very musical. That's just my creative mind taking over there. Okay, so I kind of want to hear the key commands. I got to be honest. So scrub, rewind, and scrub forward. I'm gonna give it a go. Scrub, rewind. I wonder what I'm gonna set to this. Let me see. Can I do that? Rotate, nudge, value. Yeah, I'm doing it. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, wait a minute. I actually like that. Okay, forget it. I'm gonna have to change that later because I just remembered what that was for. There's this new concept in Logic. It's really cool. Okay, but still, we got to check this out. So I'm scrubbing now. Let's see what we got here. Okay, now I'm selecting the other way. So Control Option Command right arrow key. What? Okay, I'm kind of confused. Is this reversed? I think I reversed this earlier. Hold on. Aha. All right, cool. Let's check this out again. Yeah, I mean, it sounds trippy and interesting. I just don't really see real world application. I'm sure there's something there. Again, I've been doing this for 7 years. You know, the people that I want to serve is just kind of like your everyday Logic user that just needs a handle on it and wants to learn it now. You know, you don't want to wait anymore. There's this, hold on, rotate. I changed one of my key commands and I just want to make sure that I set it back. So it's rotate by nudge value. Yeah, that's the one. Boom. And, oh wait, this one should be that and this one should be that. All right, sweet. This is a really neat feature. I hope we get to it. Cool. Let's keep going. Scrubbing here using a MIDI controller. Sweet. We can actually assign a MIDI controller. Let me see if I can do this with you guys here. With this assignment, data bytes over 64 scrub forward and those under 64 scrub backwards. I have some rotary knobs. We'll give it a go. You can also scrub via external MIDI control, such as a control surface. Cool. Let's do it. Any MIDI control number can be assigned to this function. Okay. Scrubbing is automatically made active when you split regions with the scissor tool. making it easier to identify. Okay, so actually this one feature I kind of like. So if I use the scissor tool, oh wait, let me get out of bar mode. That may be affecting. So you see how I'm clicking and I'm holding to try and find the right edit. So to me, this makes sense because now I'm scrubbing the audio trying to find the right edit. So I'm going to click and hold and drag right or left. Now bear in mind, I'm using division, so it's going to sound a little bit different. So it's up to you, you know, how you want to do this. I personally do not adhere to this, but I also think this was kind of before my time. I think this was it has a different purpose and a different application. Maybe DAWs, you know, they performed and acted a little bit different back when, but let's see, is there anything else of value here? Oh, scrubbing via, I'm just going to see if we have something in the, what happened there? Option N, Option K, and I'm just going to type in scrub and just see if there's, so I wonder if this is what they're referring to as far as the assignment. I'll give it a go. I don't know if it'll work or not, but looks like it may have worked. Let's try this. Don't see it. Nah, I don't see it. Yeah, again, I'm not even sure if that's what they meant. I don't know what I'm supposed to assign to the MIDI controller. Maybe we get into it in the next part. No. All right. Well, there is a way to scrub using MIDI controller to scrub by MIDI value with this assignment. So it's an assignment. It looks like, and those for more information, see the Logic Pro. Okay, so for that, you're going to have to tune into the Logic Pro control surface. I'm not committing to that, but I'm saying you're going to have to read the control surfaces support guide to be able to use this if this is something that you value. I can see a world where you set it up in advance and you kind of like use it from time to time. But as of now, we are going to finish up one more section, and then tomorrow we'll get to customizing the Logic Pro toolbar. Here we go. Depending on the size of the project and your display, you may not be able to see the entire project at one time. You can scroll both horizontally and vertically. We know that. We can use key commands and the keyboard modifiers to adjust the screen as well. Your trackpad, two-finger gestures. You can zoom in to make precise edits and then see more details in the tracks area. So if you want to look at this region with a bit more detail, of course, you can zoom in naturally, or you can just hit E and then it's right in front of you here. Okay, or P for the piano roll. You can zoom in. You can also zoom the amplitude of the waveform in the audio regions in the tracks area. So if you want to zoom the amplitude, we're not talking about raising up the volume. We're just visually going to make the waveforms kind of stand out a bit more and just be more visually on the screen. If I just raise up this value here, it's called a waveform zoom. I'm going to click and drag all the way up. Okay, so now we see that the waveforms look a little bit more robust. I'm going to click and drag down, so you see here's, and again, it's just a visual indicator. No volume is being changed whatsoever. Okay. See, where are we? To scroll horizontally, drag the horizontal bar. So one way to scroll is to grab, well, you know what? I can't see it on my screen because I'm using, but there's a bar down here that you can grab. I can see this one here on my right. So this is my vertical bar. You should have another one down there somewhere. That's one way. Where is my, okay, hold on. Drag right to scroll to a later part of the project. If a project has more tracks, then you can use the scroll bar to go up and down the way I just showed you. We can scroll in the tracks area using a touch bar. I'm on a desktop. You can check that out though. And then you can zoom in the tracks area. In Logic Pro, drag the horizontal and vertical zoom sliders. This would be at the top right here, my good friends, right? You can just zoom this way and then zoom this way. And so this is another way of doing it. Again, I personally just use a 2-finger gesture left and right. I'll hold Option and go up and down, and then sometimes use Command arrow keys to kind of make my way. But for some reason, why isn't it happening? Hold on. There we go. I think the playhead was at the project end. So that's just my workflow. I like pinch gestures as well. Let's see here. Yep. If the track's area is value set to automatic, the units shown on the ruler change when you zoom in or out. If the track's area grid value, hold on, I just want to look one more thing here. This may be a value. If the grid value is set to automatic, oh, that's pretty sweet. And then hold on, let me finish that. The units shown on the ruler change when you zoom in or out. Oh, I want to see if this is true. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. Okay, everything looks like it's just fixed. And if I go to automatic, I'm zooming in. Oh, wait, I just want to make sure I'm not making that up. I'm looking for this 512 right here. I have to see if this is actually a thing. Hold on. All right, so nah, looks the same to me. So let me go back. It's erased. Now I'll go to automatic. Nah, looks the same to me. I don't see anything different. Let me go here. Nah. Maybe they're talking about the time value. I'll just take one final look at that, and then we'll call it a day. 2:10:720. Hold on. Nah, it looks the same. We get one last ding. Nope, not that one. That one. All right. So I'm going to cross that out. Again, I'm fully aware that there may be some mistakes here, but that's not the point. Okay, the point was never to come on here and have it all figured out. The point was to show individuals and give them real world examples of what it looks like to actually work on this program and troubleshoot. It's an education in and of itself, just to kind of spend some time with it and look at somebody kind of figure out their way. And look, when I see things that are inefficient, we're gonna move on. That's just plain and simple. If it's not working, if it's not immediate, we have to move on. If it's worth the trouble, please spend the time troubleshooting. But if it's not, like scrubbing, I'm just not gonna use it. So there's just no need to go into it right now. But if it will dramatically help your workflow, by all means. All right, let's finish up. Oh, we already did this. You can speed up your workflow by using the save and recall zoom setting. If your computer has a trackpad that supports gestures, you can also scroll and zoom in the tracks area. All right, guys, that is my time. Thank you very much for another great session. You got to put in that work. There's just no other way around it. Maybe one day, we take a pill, we drop a chip or something, and all of a sudden we can just download all the information. But until we get there, you gotta get your reps in, and I would even question doing all that. But super important that you keep the work going, stay committed to the process. It really just is a process. You have to learn how to fall in love with it. I will tell you in advance, it may start out difficult. It may start out challenging. It may start out where your brain just can't pay enough attention. I know it did for me. I mean, I would just get so frustrated because it's like I had only 1 hour or 2 hours where I could really fully concentrate, right? But the more you do this, the better you get. The more you do this, the more concentration you'll be able to develop, the more power you will have when you sit down and work on the program. So look at this like a time of expansion where you can really build yourself up over time. It's going to happen. All right. So my name's Eddie Gray. Again, go ahead and sub Resources for the Modern Creative. This has been brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. We're so happy to be able to serve you on so many levels. Go ahead and stay tuned. More content coming soon. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Thank you very much. Let's go!